toasting, joking too. Sipping and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Well. That's the sound of a party just about to start.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. My name is Cruz. I'm the host of the show. We're all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. My co-host, Jim Heim, is with me. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was last week. No, Ian is back, and welcome back, my friend. You were missed. Jim, performed admirably while you were out, but it's not quite the same.
He didn't manage to be as awkward as I am.
He also didn't insult me nearly as often, which is, it was kind of nice. But then there's this other part of me that missed it a little bit. So
didn't bring any weird mystery beverage.
Oh, and apparently Ian has brought one today. So we'll get one. We'll get to that in a moment. It's not going to decompose or anything if we.
No, it's going to be fine.
Okay, very good. Oh, see, that worries me.
That's what the thing in it is for.
That worries me even more. Yeah, this Ian's already poured the mystery beverage, and there's something in it. I don't know if that's an olive.
Keeps
if
it fresh.
If it is an olive, it looks like it's beginning to decompose. I don't know exactly what's going on here, but we will get to the mystery beverage in just a moment. But ladies and gentlemen, we've reached a milestone in Smokin' and Toastin' history.
We hit halfway to 400 already.
Yes, we are halfway to 400.
That's awesome.
And Jim did the math last week, which I was glad because, with you out, that would have left me to do the math if he couldn't do it.
Right.
I was always promised.
You're not in it for the math.
Yeah, I am not in it for the math. I was promised there would be no math, so I appreciate and rely on yours. No, but this is show number 350 on our journey to 400. So when we get to 400, are we going to just stop? Is that the plan?
Well, what happens at 400?
I don't know.
That's the thing. Like,
Maybe,
we have to figure out what happens at 400.
Yeah, I mean, the Simpsons always do something whenever they hit like 350 or 400 or something.
That's
like one of
true.
the 100 marks, definitely. Yeah.
We should definitely do a Smokin'
consider-
and Toastin' Treehouse of Horrors
Yes,
episode. For sure, right?
That's right.
We have to have a whole montage of things Ian says to confuse Cruz.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but the show is only 2 hours long, so let's remember that, and maybe we'll have to do a little bit of editing. No, we are so glad to have you here on the show. We are going to be trying Ian's mystery beverage momentarily. We have some cigar talk, tell you about some things to watch for. We have some interesting things to taste this week from Tumwater, Washington, and Matchless Brewing Company. We've had Matchless beers on the show
Brewing
before.
Company.
We'll be trying their classic Kolsch, which is called Dome Foam, which is interesting because here in Houston, where we have the Dome, the original Dome, the Astrodome, one of our breweries here has Dome Foam.
That's Eighth Wonder.
Which is... but it's spelled differently. This is spelled how you would expect it, DOMEFOAM.
Mm-hmm.
Dome Foam from Eighth Wonder is spelled, how do you remember? It's different, but I don't remember. FAUM, yes, something like that.
FAUXM, yes.
Well, this is a Kolsch, so we'll be looking forward to trying it. The Eighth Wonder is like a that's like a what kind of beer is that one again? It's like the
Eighth Wonder one.
Yeah,
the Eighth Wonder
is like a golden ale, right?
I think it's a classic lager. I think it's supposed to be kind of like
okay.
Kind of like Lone Star or something like that.
Okay, well,
it's good beer though.
So there's two different Dome Foams.
There are, yes.
Okay.
Although the one from Houston has the claim of being from the original home of the original Dome.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, I think foam is spelled on the Eighth Wonder one, FAUXM.
I believe that's correct. Now that you
and that's the
mention it.
Houston one though, right?
Yes.
Okay.
This one is spelled Dome Foam, and when I show you the can, you're going to love it because I don't think Matt Groening, who created The Simpsons, did this. I think he's got better stuff to do, but someone did this in the style of like a Simpsons character.
Yes,
nice.
yes,
So we'll see that on the can in a bit. From Tupps Brewery from McKinney, Texas, one that caught my eye, and you can imagine that it was very easy for me to select this one for the show. It's their juicy pale ale called Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead, yes.
And of course we're right on the Day of the Dead here. So
if you want to sell anything to Cruz, you just put a Day of the Dead skull on it.
Yeah, put a Day of the Dead skull on it. I buy it. It happens every time. From St. Petersburg, Florida, And Cycle Brewing Company will be trying their barrel-aged Hazelnut Imperial Stout, which I know you're not likely to
I didn't hear
enjoy.
anything you said, but yum, yum, yum.
Yeah, exactly. And for our spirit tasting, I want to mention something. Very seldom am I one of those guys that goes, "Oh, I'm listening to this podcast. You have to try it," right? Unless I'm talking about this one, which I'll promote this one. But usually I'm not that guy, because that guy is annoying. You see him at parties. He goes, "Oh, you have to listen to this podcast. It's about," and you're kind of like, "Whatever, dude."
I don't mind that guy. You know what guy I mind is no. I'll pull it up on my phone right now at a party
and play it for you on my
as loud
phone.
as I can and shove it into your ear. That makes me want to stab people.
No, don't do that. But I will tell you that one of the podcasts I've enjoyed the most ever is something that the 5 of the late night TV show hosts got together and did during the writer's strike. It was called Strike Force 5. And Strike Force 5 was Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, John Oliver, and Seth Meyers.
Wow.
All
That
together.
sounds like it would be hilarious.
And
I'm
it
gonna
is
have to look that
hilarious.
up.
It doesn't matter what they talk about. It's hilarious. And so they decided to do the podcast during the writer's strike in order to be able to get sponsors for it. And the money would go to their staffs who were not able to
wow.
work
That's
and make a
brilliant.
living. So it's a really
Brilliant,
cool
yeah.
idea. And I just love it because it's 5 guys just, shooting the crap, and they're all hilarious. And it's just great. But anyway, the reason I'm bringing all that up, and I do encourage you to listen to it even though the strike is over, Strike Force 5, I think there's like 11 episodes, and it's wonderful. Best podcast I've heard since listening to the Ricky Gervais podcast all those years ago. So, but in any case, one of their main sponsors was the Hollywood actor Ryan Reynolds and his various companies. So he does Mint Mobile. So he would he would do the ads himself, like you've seen on TV. But he made special ones for this podcast where he would basically spend the entire commercial insulting the late night hosts of the podcast. And so the commercials were every bit as funny as the podcast itself. But Ryan Reynolds, the reason I bring all this up is one of the companies he owns is Aviation Gin. And I thought we should try Aviation Gin on the show. So that's why we have on today's program a bottle of Aviation Gin, which I will also mention is very reasonably priced. So.
You have not complied with OSHA, and you have not
But
opened
it is early
or
in the
cleared
show.
the top of the bottle.
It is early in the show, so we may have time. So,
Something's going to happen.
so all of that is coming up. Plus, we have everyone's favorite segment of the show. Drinking News is coming up. And if you want to grab the ukulele and give me a little musical riff there, I'll give you today's Drinking News teaser headline. If you can weaponize this, you can weaponize anything. So we'll look forward to that.
You can go with this, or you can go with that.
Or you can go with us. So I'm so intrigued by this horrible looking
let me start
beverage.
you off with this. 'Cause,
Okay.
You know,
Oh man.
Okay,
See,
go ahead and try
all
it.
you're doing is increasing my trepidation. I just want you to know. It smells actually a little boozy. Imagine that, you bringing in something boozy.
Yeah.
it would be a little crazy, wouldn't it?
Ugh.
I love that reaction. Now, do I want to try?
You have to, because
You have to.
Oh boy.
This is
Woohoo!
Ian. This is just absolutely vile. What is this?
This is a mixture of flavors.
So here's a funny thing.
Yeah,
I
So
like
many-
this.
you do.
I do.
What is?
There are so many things going on here
What
at
is it
once
about
that
this
slammed
that
my
you like?
I'm going to recommend that you give your palate a moment to adjust and
Try it
try
again.
another sip. This is my recommendation.
Cruz is not sure. About
My parents warned me about people like you.
So this is something my wife brought home, tried it, and absolutely hated it.
Well, I mean, so many things happening at your tongue at once.
You know, I don't know if I've said this before on the show. I know I've said it, privately, but your wife is a very smart woman.
What is she doing
Very
with
smart
me?
woman. Yeah, I don't know, but she nailed this. It's
Yeah.
horrible. You have got to be kidding me. This is made by Glenlivet, a spirit drink, New Manhattan.
Whoa,
Made with the Glenlivet single malt Scotch whiskey.
I think it's fine.
Which I love. but I don't love this. I just don't.
I think it's fine.
What did they put in here?
It's a what? A whiskey drink?
Yeah,
did you say?
it's apparently
It's
like
a Manhattan.
It's a Manhattan in a bottle. It's terrible. I love Manhattans.
Okay.
What, I don't get it.
What's wrong with it?
It tastes vile.
It's just fine.
No,
Tastes like scotch in a Manhattan.
No.
Like so
No,
okay,
it
so
doesn't.
here's
It
the thing.
doesn't I love scotch.
Generally you don't put scotch in a Manhattan,
True.
but here's scotch in a Manhattan, and it tastes like scotch in a Manhattan to me.
Maybe that's why I don't like it. Like I like scotch, I like Manhattans.
That, by the way, is
Maybe
one
they
of
were-
those
they were-
those really good cherries in the bottom.
Maybe they were two things that were never
It
meant
is a
to
cherry,
meet.
huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those the really good dark maraschino
Yeah.
expensive ones.
Honestly, if you told me it was a cherry Malort, I would have believed you.
I think it's good.
I really don't. I really, really don't. In fact, I think it's so not good that I'm setting mine over here and I will
It's
not be drinking anymore.
Just
of
got
it.
crazy flavors to it going on all over the place.
I think crazy is a far too kind of a word.
So I didn't get to see this part, but there's a secondary part to this in the
Yeah.
cap, right? Where when you initially open it, it shoots a bunch of flavors into the Glenlivet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a bottle of Glenlivet that shoots a bunch of flavors in it to make it a Manhattan.
So
And apparently it looks incredibly cool when it happens. I didn't see that part of it.
Tell you how I would really like this drink is if the cap malfunctioned and did not shoot
not put
any
the
of the
flavoring
flavors
in there?
into the Glenlivet, and you were just drinking Glenlivet because I mean that's a wonderful
I
Scotch.
mean, it is a full 40% too. This is not like a watered down.
No, it's not like one of those
Drink.
cheap cocktails in a can where they're about like 0.4% alcohol.
No.
Yeah.
And it's not particularly expensive. This is I don't know how many milliliters it is. It's 375 milliliter bottle, and it's like $17 or $18.
But your wife didn't like this either.
She didn't like it at all.
So it's all just
And she
Glenlivet in
loves
there.
Manhattans, right?
She does like Manhattans.
So that's all just Glenlivet's in there, except for what's the flavoring that's
Yes,
in
it's
there. It's just a
Glenlivet.
full bottle of
It's
that.
a standard Glenlivet with that.
Except for what spews out of the top when you turn the.
Spew sounds less than appetizing.
Yeah, well, I think it's appropriate in this case. I really do. So
it has
this
a twist.
is
It has
this
a
is
twist and mix top.
a twist
Twist
and
and
mix.
mix.
Yeah,
That sounds fun.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to say if it was a twist and mix party, that sounds like a good idea.
All right, well, do
But
yourself
this
a favor. At least eat
definitely-
the cherry.
Oh,
'cause
I'm,
those cherries are good.
hey, I'm making it
Yeah,
down
but
to the
it's
cherry.
been
I want
soaking
more
in
cherries.
that. I don't know if I can do that.
Oh no, this has got to be a good cherry. Come on, I'm going to do it. I'm down.
That's
Here we
one of
go.
the-
Ready?
Yeah.
That's one of them. The
Now,
dark
see,
cherry.
if you were to give me one out of the dark cherries, jar, that'd be a different story.
Yeah, you're right. Don't tell Cruz, but you're right. It just tastes like the drink now.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. That's what I'm
It's
afraid
very
of.
good, but you're
I
gonna,
really,
you're gonna-
honestly,
yeah.
I did not bring this in to punk you. I thought it was pretty darn good, to be honest.
You realize you are not to be trusted. That's the first. That's the first thing. Yeah. Yeah.
I would probably not drink this floating down the river,
It takes.
but I do like it, and I will drink the rest of this bottle.
It does take a long time
Right
Ian,
now.
to rebuild
No,
trust.
not right now. Probably not.
It does take a long time to rebuild trust. I'll just say that.
Apparently, I'm in my efforts to rebuild
Build
trust.
trust, he's even
I've tripped
stepped on
over
it.
the whole mechanism and broken it again.
Apparently so. To paraphrase George W. Bush, malort me once, shame on you. Malort me twice, malort me and won't get malorted again.
You won't get fooled again.
All right. I never thought I'd miss him, but I kind of do. Let's take a break, folks, and we will return.
At least it was worth a conversation.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know. I'm glad to have tried it.
Yeah.
Past tense, tried. I will not be trying it anymore. All right, we're going to find out about Ian's smoking experience this week. Plus, I have something interesting to tell you. I'm going to give you a hint about the cigar I smoked. I broke down. It was from AJ Fernandez. We'll be right back.
Oh, no.
We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is Smoking and Toasting, show number 350. And our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars.
I love those things.
We have a tradition here on the show, which we do most weeks, maybe not every week, but most weeks one of us will bring, and today it was Ian, will bring something that we like to call a show beer. And a show beer is not necessarily something we're going to review and talk about on the program. It's just something we do to kind of get the palate started, have something to sip on while we're waiting to get to the ones that
the
we're going.
wheels, if you will.
Yeah. So I'd just like to thank Ian profusely for bringing today's show beer, which is a St. Arnold Oktoberfest for me, which, by the way, is wonderful. But it is a great palate cleanser after that nasty Glenlivet.
I was wondering if that's why you
thing.
were you were heralding his choice, because I've got Founder's Dirty Bastard, really good.
That's a wonderful beer as well. It's a little heavier than this, and I'm sure it would also work as a palate cleanser.
So you're showing that he's redeeming himself, since you did not care for the...
I'm trying to like Ian. I really am. He's...
So Founder's Dirty Bastard is also the show beer that I'm drinking.
Yeah.
And it is one of my absolute go-tos.
I
love this.
What is the ABV on Dirty Bastard?
Well, you always ask me these questions. It's 8.5.
8.5. Okay, that's what I thought.
It's in my refrigerator at all times.
It's a good beer. I will not argue with you on that. It is
roasty
quite delicious.
and malty and delicious. And
so tell me about your cigar this week. Do you have an opportunity to smoke anything interesting?
Room 101.
Oh, I like that room.
Is founded by Matt Booth.
Yes.
This was the 14th anniversary Room 101. This is the 14th
nice.
anniversary Toro. This is 6x52 Nicaraguan Puro. This is Puro. Puro is what my cats do.
Puro.
Puro. There you go. Right?
Burro. I don't know. Burro.
Right?
Puro.
That's Spanish for puro. Anyway, this is actually made by AJ Fernandez in Nicaragua.
Well, that's not surprising.
Right. That guy, he knows something about
Yes,
cigars.
he does.
He's amazing, by the way. The appearance on this dark brown wrapper with some veins, you'll see in a picture right up here. Leathery feel, oily wrapper, somewhat lumpy, medium firmness with soft spots, with a single red band that says 14th anniversary.
Nice.
It's a pretty nice looking cigar. I know lumpy's not the best word in the world, but it doesn't look terrible. It doesn't look like I tried to fold a fitted sheet or something like that. That would be awful. But yeah, it's a little uneven overall. The pre-light sniff on this, I'm sorry, I'm a little ahead of myself. Yeah. The pre-light sniff on this, dirty and earthy, barnyard and chocolate. The pre-light draw, punch, effortless draw, sweet coffee, and dark fruit, earthy and leathery tingle on the lips. Nicaraguan pepper on the initial light. Nicaraguan pepper breeze. It was not quite a blast. It was a breeze. Rich, dense smoke delivers earth and pepper backed by leather and charred toast. Retrohale is peppery and pepper.
Peppery and pepper. Kind of like a peppery pepper.
Like a peppery pepper.
Okay.
The first third of this, the intense smoke is perfect for smoke rings. You will see that in this picture right over here.
Is that you blowing smoke rings?
This is me blowing
picture?
smoke rings, right?
Nice.
The pepper is prominent without overpowering the leather and earth tones. You'll see another picture of me right here with smoke rings. There's two pictures of them. The retrohale pepper is prominent without overpowering the leather and earth tones. Retrohale is peppery and espresso, solid ash, perfect burn. You'll notice there's a little theme going through here. A bit of cayenne shows up on the second third of this, adds some interest to the pepper. Leather and toasty notes overall. Underlying sweet coffee and kind of a meaty broth weave throughout with a salty tang. The retrohale is peppery and toast, solid ash, perfect burn.
Nice.
The last third of this, the pepper actually backs off a little bit, which is a little bizarre because it's kind of backwards.
You kind of expect that to get heavier in the last
Yeah, it
third.
backs off slightly and leaves leather and salt as the primary flavors. Very salty tasting cigar, kind of interesting. And it left that salty and leathery kind of taste on the lips too. That was kind of nice. The retrohale's peppery and salty toast, solid ash, perfect burn. This comes in at $14.
Oh, it's a pricey one.
It's real pricey. I gave it a 4. At $14, there's a lot of cigars I like better at $14. It was a good cigar, but it was still a little overpriced for, I think, what I got out of it. It burned great, though.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'll tell you about mine coming up in the next segment, and as I may have teased earlier, I did break my promise. It is an AJ Fernandez cigar as well, and we'll be back, and I'll tell you about it next on Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back back at Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. My name is Cruz. My co-host is Ian Barry. Our studio producer is Terry Michaels, who you will hear on the mic from time to time. And I just want to take a minute, by the way, to say, actually, in all seriousness, huge thanks to Jim Heim for filling in when you were out.
So I watched the show. He was a lot of fun.
He was a lot of fun. And I'm thinking, and he has invited this, that at some point we may want to go and do a show on Jim's famous front porch, because it is like a cigar smoking mecca.
Yes.
All I need is like one plug, maybe something, two plugs, and we can do it.
Maybe, and depending on what time of the year, we might need a fan. But it's just I've been over there. That was actually why I invited him to come and fill in for you last week, was because I'd had some fun times hanging out on his front porch talking about cigars and whiskeys and different things, and it reminded me a little bit of hanging out with you before we started the show, because we were just talking about what we tasted and all that stuff. So,
right now we're in the season that we like to call fall.
Yes,
which happens right before second summer.
Right.
Because fall's going to back up. My wife explained this to me just yesterday, actually.
We record the show in advance, and I'm not completely sure if by the time it airs, if fall will have already been
that's a couple days
past.
away. There.
Right.
So
there's a few days in between. So we might end up in second summer, and then second summer immediately leads into winter.
Yes.
Which is moderate.
Yeah.
And usually rainy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes it will freeze just to mess with us. Just to mess with us.
Just to shut down the town for a day.
Ian, while you were pouring that, I want to tell you about the cigar that I wanted to talk about this week. It is called the Havoc, and it is from JR Cigar, and it's blended specially for them by my cigar hero, AJ Fernandez. Now, I know I promised not to review anything by AJ for a while, but I decided you might need to know about this one. So,
do you know how difficult it is to not review a cigar by that guy?
Well, because he does cigars for everybody. Seriously. So the Havoc comes in boxes of 11, which I'm pretty sure is unique among cigar brands. The elaborate artwork on the band, which you'll see here. And by the way, I was thinking about this when you were doing your review. If you'll say you see in the picture here that Adam, our producer, will always put it over here.
Yeah, I love that.
You realize
Is
that?
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why we point. It's just,
it's funny.
Thing. Yeah.
If you're watching it on YouTube, anyway, which you should put it on in the background so you have like good mood. Kind of creating stuff.
Exactly. The elaborate artwork on the band is very gladiator themed. Havoc and Gladiator, which I'm told Gladiators apparently is something that AJ loves. And unfortunately, all I can think of is Peter Graves in the Airplane movie saying, "Do you like gladiator movies?"
I like movies about gladiators.
Yeah. The Havoc is a Nicaraguan puro, and as are many of AJ's blends, with wrapper, binder, and filler, all coming from Nicaragua. So as excited as I was to smoke this new cigar, the minute I took it out of my humidor, where it had been since I got it in a sampler from JR online, I knew we were going to need to talk about it. I tend my humidor very well, and I have not had any problems with anything drying out. But the wrapper of the Havoc, as you'll see in the picture wherever Adam decides to put it, was already cracked around the head of the cigar.
Oh, no.
And as I would come to find out, near the foot as well. Not a good sign.
Ooh,
so I went ahead and used a punch, which made the flakiness around the head of the cigar even worse. And I tested the pre-light. Notes of baking spice and a hint of sweetness, along with earth and leather. Pretty much the same thing on the cold draw, where small flakes from the wrapper stuck to my lips even before I lit the cigar.
No.
Now, when
it's dried out.
When I did spark it up, there was not a Nicaraguan pepper blast. There was some pepper, but the baking spice that I'd picked up on the pre-light was a little bit more prominent at that point than even the pepper. There was natural sweetness, too, much like I'd gotten from before I lit it, but not like a sweetness on the lips like a dip cigar. This is more like just a sweeter note, a very natural sort of sweetness in the tobacco. There was more on the finish and also in the retrohale, both sweet and pepper on the retrohale, which can be kind of nice, by the way, together.
Agreed.
Due to the construction issues, I took the enormous Gladiator movie band off early on, hoping that I wouldn't take some of the wrapper tobacco with it. And
that's not his first Gladiator band, by the way.
No.
Man of War and all
yes,
that.
Exactly. So you know now where some of that came from. Yeah. Anyway, it seemed to go okay. I didn't rip the tobacco off. The Havoc also burned through the cracks around the foot without too much of an issue. Looked like it was going to be super crooked at first, and then it kind of straightened out and did its thing, so that was good. Biggest complaint so far is how careful I was having to be in smoking it so I didn't cause it to unravel or flake off onto my lips constantly at the head of the cigar.
Dude, I've had that happen where the wrapper sticks to your lips and you pull it away and it's like,
and it's just, yeah, exactly.
no bueno.
So I was able to keep it from unraveling, but I did still have to pick, the tobacco flakes off on my lip. Second, third, medium-bodied in terms of strength. Baking spice receded a little bit. Pepper became more prominent. I picked up a light coffee note, and it developed a nuttiness as well. Still both peppery and sweet on the finish. The ash fell off at about the second, third mark, which honestly I should have seen coming based on the cracks. Second, third contained its own wrapper crack as well, which I was able to smoke past without anything coming unraveled. So I was happy at least about that. The final third gave me more pepper, and the strength ramped up to medium full. I have to say, I really enjoyed the flavors of this cigar, and I found myself really wishing that the wrapper cracks weren't keeping me from loving the whole thing more. Admittedly, the cigar burned through the wrapper crack issues surprisingly well, at least until it got to that final third. This is a cigar that I would have loved to smoke down to the nub, but there was no way I was going to be able to do that thanks to all the cracks and unraveling at the head of the cigar. The Havoc Toro is a $6 to $7 cigar. And I'm going to admit, I will probably buy more in hopes that the wrapper issues were an isolated thing, because I would love to experience this cigar without having the tobacco flake off onto my lips when I smoke it. And I'm going to give it a qualified recommendation. AJ's quality is generally consistent enough that I think you're likely to have better luck with the construction than I did on this particular one.
It sounds to me like the construction actually stood up and burned through even some of the issues you had.
If it weren't for the cracks around the head of the cigar and tobacco on the lips, I would have given this very high marks, I have to say. But as it was, for price to quality for me on the one I smoked, I'll give it a 4.5. Great flavors, great complexity. It's not overpriced, assuming that it doesn't flake out on you, but a bit too much of a pain in the ass to give it a full 5. So I'll just go with a 4.5. But I have a feeling that if I smoked one of these and it didn't have those cracks in the wrapper, I would have maybe been talking about 6+.
Really? Wow. So the flavors were that kind of
based on the fact that it was a $6 to $7 cigar.
Wow.
This, to me, would have competed with something in the price range of what you had. But again, except for those construction issues. So anyway, so there you have it. And Ian has now poured some beer. And before we drink the Foam Dome from Matchless, I think you have to show the camera, and I know we have some B-roll of it, but you have to show the camera.
So we talked about
very Matt Groening inspired.
I saw that when I was
talked about the dome foam. This is Foam Dome.
A Foam Dome. See, I messed that up.
Backwards, right?
I messed that up. Yeah, Foam Dome.
Totally different. I don't know how you could confuse that at all.
They are McDonald's, and we are McDowell's.
Totally different.
That is such a great reference. Yeah. Oh my God, that's good.
Y'all got Rocky Marciano.
They've got the Big Mac. We have the Big Mick. See, that's
very different, right?
All right. So in this case, he's got the cap on that has the cup holders or the beer holders. In this case, and Foam Dome probably refers to the foam that he's pulling into his dome.
That's one of the characters. Yeah. That's the what's his name?
I don't know. Is that really a character? I don't know, because
that's not.
I got a Simpsons thing made of myself actually for my birthday one year. Someone made one of me and my family. I think it's just someone.
I think it's just
I don't recognize him.
Right. Plus, I don't see anything, even though they use a kind of a Simpsons font.
It looks like he's trying to be young Homer.
I got to ask you a question. Did your Simpsons thing? Did you look like the bus driver?
Did I know? Otto.
Otto the bus driver.
It smells like Otto's jacket.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, little dude. You know, we had a number of Simpsons references on the show last week too.
That's
exactly.
It says they're Herzbrucker hops, Pilsner wheat malt, and Carafoam grain, Kaiser yeast, and light crushable and genius is how they describe it. I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
I will say it is the opposite of boozy.
It smells really good.
But it is crisp and easy to drink.
It smells like cereal. Like
it kind of does, right? Like Lucky Charms.
Yeah, like without too much of the sweetness, but it smells like cereal. Store cold, drink fresh. That's what it says. Label art by Missy Maxwell Art.
Okay, so it's not Matt Groening production.
Somehow people have
certainly done in that style.
Been able to do
100%.
that. They call it the style, and it's not that anymore. You know.
I'm going to tell you, I actually really enjoy this. It's not like one where I'll go, man, that flavor is so delicious.
Yeah.
It's more that it's just really easy to drink. There's nothing wrong
It's
with
bizarrely crispy, and I love the cereal bready note in there that's so good. It's almost not quite pretzel.
Right,
but a very
little bit of a yeasty, bready flavor.
I really, really enjoy that part of it.
It's a classic Kolsch, and it's
apparently
really
it's my day to like stuff that you don't like as much.
No, I do like this. Did I come across like I didn't like this?
No,
I do
like
this.
This is good.
I'm just giving you.
This is good.
Giving you a hard time.
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate that because see, Jim Heim, who filled in for you last week. Being his first time on the show, he was far too nice.
Are you talking about my nemesis?
Missed opportunities. Yeah,
your nemesis, Jim. But he was far too, nice in his first appearance.
Yeah.
To give me a little.
So many opportunities.
I got to say, I mentioned to you when I was going out of town that you weren't allowed to bring someone on that was better than I was.
Yeah. So I tried bringing on Mark Burrell.
He's fantastic.
Who would have been, and he was
fantastic.
unavailable.
That would have been hurtful.
Here's the thing. We still haven't seen anyone that can do this and play the ukulele.
That's true.
So there's where you're really holding it down right now.
I understood that Mark had been practicing the ukulele, but unfortunately, he wasn't able to come because of his job. Apparently, his job had him.
You people in your jobs
had him in tequila selecting a barrel for the Rainbow Lodge.
Oh, you call that an excuse?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, well, just
because
cancel.
You're like not in the country.
Just cancel. This is smoking and toasting.
No, so I watched last week's show. Jim was awesome.
Jim
he
did
was
a great
fun.
job.
Yeah,
He's a wonderful guy.
That was a great time.
And I do want us to go to a show on his front porch.
Let's do it.
It'll be great
100%.
fun. We'll smoke and have a good time. So we'll look forward to that. So I dig this classic Kolsch. I think it's
good.
Just absolutely wonderful.
Like I said, I love that cereal and bready flavor right up front, and I love how crispy it is on the back end. It's got that hop snap to it that just cleans it right up. This is I would drink this floating down the river.
I think that's going to be the name of my power pop band.
Hop Snap.
Hop Snap.
Hop Snap.
Yeah, that'd be a great power pop band, wouldn't it? You know,
Hop Snap.
you'd do all Jimmy Eat World covers, and you'd be Hop Snap.
I just was thinking of Bonanza.
That's a whole other. That's a whole other use of Hop Snap. Our friends at Anheuser-Busch. Friends, I use in a colloquial.
I heard the air quotes when you said it. Actually, you can hear it.
Our friends. I don't even have to do the.
No. You can hear
the
it.
Don Jr. air quote thing. Our friends at Anheuser-Busch have offloaded more craft breweries.
Really?
Yep.
So they went through such a acquisition phase, and now they're in a dequisition phase.
So
I don't know what's going on there.
Back in August, Tilray Brands, a global cannabis lifestyle and consumer packaged goods company, announced they'd entered into a definitive agreement to acquire some beer and beverage brands from Anheuser-Busch, and on September 29th, they closed the massive deal, meaning that Shock Top, which by the way was never a craft brewery. Shock Top was owned by it was owned by AB.
That was what we call it, the macro craft.
Right. Shock Top was like Blue Moon. It was owned by a major
macro
brewery.
craft. It was made to sound like a microbrewery.
Exactly. And Shock Top is not bad, and neither is Blue Moon.
It's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. But Shock Top.
It's actually what's weird is when they made those macro craft breweries, they made better beer than they generally make.
That's exactly right.
Like
it's
how
better
crazy
than
is that?
Better than their flagship brands. In addition to Shock Top, it was Breckenridge Brewery, which I really like their stuff. Blue Point Brewing Company, 10 Barrel Brewing Company, Red Hook Brewery, which is one that
Red Hook's a big one, yeah.
Anheuser-Busch acquired Red Hook like back in the 90s or early 2000s. This wasn't one of their recent acquisitions. And Red Hook, by the way, makes a wonderful ESB. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Widmer Brothers Brewing and the Square Mile Cedar Company and Highball Energy Drink. So all of those were sold to Tilray Brands. So,
all right, Tilray, make something awesome.
Yeah, it makes something awesome.
Let's go back to good ingredients.
And Tilray, by the way, is a cannabis company.
Less rice.
So, yeah, less rice, good ingredients, and some flavor. We would like flavor.
I like flavor.
Yeah, I think
especially in beer.
I think that would make all of us feel better. So, anyway, AB continues to offload these companies, so it makes me wonder about companies like Karbach.
I love it when they sell it back to a previous owner or someone that was affiliated. That's even better, because I love to see those things kind of come back home.
Yeah,
and you're going to lose
happened with a couple of beers,
and you're going to lose some reach. But you know what? Yeah. Let's go with the product.
Let's go with quality. I like quality.
Let's go with the integrity of the original product.
Do not be fooled by this program itself. I like quality. So we'll be back in just a moment. Still a lot more tasting to do here on the program, and we want to tell you before we're done today. We'll tell you about the best Scotch whiskeys, or the best whiskeys of the year 2023 so far.
You want me to pour you some more of this Manhattan?
I like that. It was kind of like stereo.
This is stereo. Yes. Well, we were drinking up that Matchless.
Welcome back, my friends. It's Smoking and Toasting. Yes, I think we've all decided that Foam Dome from Matchless is
really good.
Really, really good classic
really
Kolsch.
good.
Yeah, it really is.
It's not just for breakfast anymore.
Super awesome, easy to drink, and your breakfast reference makes sense because it does have a little of that breakfast cereal.
It does. It's really, really nice.
Now,
I love those malty flavors right up front.
Were they really referencing the dome on that one, or is that just a different name?
I think they're talking about his dome.
No, that's right.
Because
it's backwards from ours is dome foam, because we had the dome, and every time people got beer at the they used to pour it in.
Yeah,
if you remember, when you go to
Astrodome,
they had a big giant cup, and they would crack your can open, and they just dump it upside down in there, and it would foam up like crazy. So it was always dome foam, right?
Do you realize we are raising a generation today who will not ever be able to
if you're raising, you're burning it down. I'm just being English.
Yeah, I appreciate you being English, but I am not going to talk about rearing a generation. I'm just not. I'm sorry. It doesn't work for me. I will choose a different terminology. My point is, there's an entire generation growing up right now.
Rear.
He said rear.
He said rear.
There's an entire generation growing up right now that will never be able to say, when you went to the Astrodome,
right?
Let me tell you, some of my favorite memories at the Dome. I got to see the Masters of the Universe, He-Man and Skeletor one time, just before an Astros game there, and I also got to go down for the radio station and have all the people cheer for me one time at a Monster Jam. It was the greatest.
But that whole phrase of they used to do it at the Astrodome will have to be, reserved for posterity, or as Ian might say, reserved for posterior. I don't know.
Reserved for posterior.
That fits your terminology a little better. I don't know. But anyway, I'll leave the rearing to you.
All my kids know it as a place that they can just kind of look in through the locked doors, while they're going.
It's still there. Yes.
Yeah.
By the way, and I don't mean to change the subject, but this has to be one of the coolest and most awesome cans.
The artwork on that can
ever
is
had
stupendous.
on the program.
It is so good.
It is from Tupps Beer. These guys, I believe, are from McKinney, Texas, and this is their. It's not an IPA. It's a juicy pale ale. It's 5.5%.
I don't know what that means. Have you ever had a juicy pale ale before?
Yeah, I have actually. In fact, I'm going to try to see if I can bring this on
Lay it down on me.
a future show. But they have just released from Sierra Nevada a new juicy little thing. They've had the hazy little thing.
Yeah, they got hazy little thing.
They've now done a juicy little thing, and that's a pale ale.
I love their series because they have something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They have little something.
Yeah, All right. So
they need to come up with something extra.
So let's talk Tupps.
All right, let's talk Tupps. This can is so brilliant. Like, I love this. It's got the guitar.
The smell.
And I love the nose on this beer.
Oh,
my
nose
goodness.
is great.
Oh, it's dank, too.
Oh, it is.
The nose is dank.
It's definitely got some dankness to it.
But it's weird because it's a light dankness. It's not a heavy dank like you get on
Okay, this as just explodes on the tongue with flavor.
Wow.
It's really, and there is definitely some dank. So I'm guessing they used some rather interesting hops in this. I don't know if it says on the can.
Weird. Okay, so it starts dank and then finishes grapefruit.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's like starts dank and then gets more mainstream as it goes. Does it say what hops we're dealing with here? Let's see. Some of the cans do, some of them don't. This one is hard to read because they realize that not all people who
purple on purple.
Yeah, purple on purple. That
black on purple. Let's see what we got.
You're gonna do it? If I were Prince, I might figure that out. But
you're Prince.
There should be like an FDA for printing things on.
All it says is keep cold, drink fresh, and in the heart of Texas. And something about a government warning about drinking it if you're pregnant. So,
is that a thing? I may need to put this down right now.
Yes. Why? Because you're one of those people that you and the woman will send out an announcement that says we're pregnant. That is the stupid. Don't get me started. We don't have time in this segment.
Oh no, we're getting political here.
We're pregnant. No, you are not. She is pregnant. If you're going to be laying on that delivery table, cramping and having contractions, you get to say we're pregnant. But you do not get to say it if she has to carry the baby. I'm sorry. That is BS, and I'm calling you on it.
No, I'm 100% in agreement. I have 2 children, and when she was pregnant, never more in my life have I been happy to not be the one that had to be pregnant.
Exactly. Yes. And I'm not, listen, I'll give women all the credit on this. We men are wimps. We could not handle that kind of pain.
No, that's
I'm just saying, we couldn't. Anyway, I'm sorry. I don't know how we got there from Day of the Dead.
See what happened?
Juicy Pale Ale, but this is a wonderful beer.
The bottom line is this inspires thought
and maybe that's
conversation.
What it's all about. Yeah,
it's as good as the artwork on the cover.
What good beer does.
Yes, I love
That's what good beer does. So, okay, we got to take a break,
yes.
and we will be back momentarily. But let me tell you, this is a good beer. We're going to talk more about it in the next segment at Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back.
If y'all could hear what we talked about in between.
Yeah. See, used to we would include that, and there'd be one version of the show that would actually include the between the segments.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but that was before we were on. That was when we did the show live, back before we were on broadcast radio.
That's when I have my best time.
If you were listening to the live feed, you caught some really interesting stuff, like Ian opening his switchblade knife, which is illegal in many states, including probably ours. Although, no, probably not ours.
This is not a switchblade. It's an automatic opening knife.
Well, of course it is.
That
and
makes
that's
it
good
different.
To know. Yeah.
And it goes like this. You just pull this little thing, it goes...
wow.
It opens automatically.
It opens automatically.
But it's not a switchblade.
But it's not as good for lore, right? And songs.
Yes.
Like one of the bands that I love, Roger Klein and the Peacemakers, has this song called Switchblade, and he talks about how he bought a switchblade for all of his friends. And that verse just wouldn't have worked if he said, how I bought an automatic opening knife for all of my friends. It just wouldn't have had the same.
Yeah, it might have.
It
might have
lost a beat.
Yeah. Tastingtable.com is a really interesting website, and they're rather opinionated, which
or
I
if you're fancy as Tasting Tabla.
Tasting Tabla. They're rather opinionated, which I kind of like. They've made a list of the best whiskeys of the year so far. So while Ian is opening the gin, or struggling to open the gin, perhaps, I think you got to use that switchblade.
There wasn't a.
It's not a cork.
I was gonna say there wasn't. I turned it all the way up.
Now, see,
it was not an expensive gin. I will say this.
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna give kudos. This is a tip to my dad. I'm gonna give kudos to Aviation Jim for being modern and saying, you know what. Corks are old school. We're going to go with a screw top.
Right. This reminds me of when...
It's also gin. Does gin really need a cork top? Like, I don't get a lot of vodka that has cork tops, right?
No, I haven't tried Aviation Gin, but I got to tell you, right off the nose, it's a little... piney, turpentine-y a little bit.
Remember when Steve Martin was in the Muppet movie and he asked Kermit if he would like to sniff the bottle cap that was on the champagne? That he
I love that. Would you like to sniff the box top?
Yeah, exactly.
The box top. I forgot about
He's
that.
like, would you like to slip the bottle cap? And
Listen,
he was like,
as far as I'm concerned,
yes.
I will watch anything Steve Martin is in.
Yes.
Anything.
Yes, absolutely.
I like the Muppets already, but I'll watch anything
Absolutely.
Steve Martin is in. So let me run down a list of a few of this tasting table list of things that they say are the best whiskeys of 2023 so far. The first one on
as
the
we
list,
sip.
As we sip gin, because there's nothing better than lining it all up and making it consistent.
That's right.
That's what we do on the program. They first recognized Barrel Private Releases Whiskey DJX2, which, by the way, for a 4-letter number combination, you can't do better than DJX2. That just sounds cool.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Barrel. I have quite a few barrel expressions on my shelf.
I have
and
a
they're
few as well.
Outstanding.
Mm-hmm. With Barrel, they say, especially the private release series, you can almost pick anything they put out. Fortunately, they have seen this port finished whiskey and think it is amazing. It's at a smidge over $100, and they say it's absolutely wonderful. A whiskey with some kicking power at 124.9.
Oh, yeah,
proof.
they do a lot of overproof.
Yeah.
I have one of their rums. I have a barrel rum
Yes,
that's
and
at
it is-
136.
It is the highest proof rum I've ever tasted.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like literally, if you let it sit on the table, it might catch fire.
Yeah, I would believe that. Bowmore's Master Selection 22-year-old makes their list. It is pretty exciting and priced at about $450.
That's
per
all?
bottle. Yeah, but then I love this one. Breckenridge Sexy Motor Oil Series 3.
Sexy Motor Oil.
Sexy Motor Oil is a delicious game of table tennis between two unrelated but friendly companies, Breckenridge Brewery and Breckenridge Distillery.
Right.
They both exist. They both have the name Breckenridge, but they are not in any way related.
They're not related
so
at
they
all.
collaborated on this
I
particular.
assume that Breckenridge and Breckenridge kind of like one led to the other, but
you would assume
they're completely.
so. But they've been doing this collaboration
Do you
apparently
think the
for a
distillery
few years.
went for the name recognition thing?
Probably.
Because Breckenridge Brewery's been killing it for years.
They say they've been doing this collaboration for a few years now. And the third Sexy Motor Oil, which is the one that they're referencing in this list, apparently sips like a banana split sundae. Doesn't that sound great? Yeah. So apparently this is available only at the distillery.
Try that.
So if you are in Colorado or you know someone who's in Colorado who can get you some,
Bring me some of that.
You get you some. Chattanooga Silver Oak Cabernet Cask Finished also makes the list. So does Glenallachie 2012 Vintage Cuvée Wine Cask Finish.
Cuvée is an interesting flavor when you do the Cuvée cask. It's got a kind of a lighter flavor than you expect a lot of times.
They also mentioned the Glendronach Cask Strength Batch 11. Remember, these are the best
Glendronach
whiskeys
is
of
great.
2023 so far, according to this listed tasting table.
there might be more better that are coming.
And Glengoyne
More
15
betterer,
year, they mentioned. Glengoyne is a remarkable distillery. Whether or not you're a fan, and a lot of its characteristics are evident, they say, in this 15-year release, which is a moderate 86 proof. But they say it's wonderful. And then Heaven Hill Heritage Collection 20-year-old Kentucky Straight Corn Whiskey. There's not a thing wrong with Heaven Hill.
Heaven Hill is so good.
Yeah. I mean, these guys.
What does that one come in at? I bet it's expensive.
Let me see if I can find it in this.
If they don't have it, that's fine. Heaven Hill's always going to be a little on the pricey side anyway, though.
$300.
Nope, that's very on the pricey side.
High
That's way
West,
past the gray line.
High West Brewery 2023. If you mix bourbon and rye, you get Brewery. Or so High West would have us all saying. Brewery. I think that's something
like
the
Bennifer?
Marines. No, it's something like the Marines say, but not quite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not oorah, but it's close.
Right, exactly. And then there's Jack Daniel's 12-year-old Tennessee whiskey. And here's what's interesting about this. I was just reading an article this week about how Jack Daniels, and remember we had a rep from Jack Daniels on the program.
Darcy was amazing.
And Darcy was awesome. But Jack Daniels has quietly been making huge inroads into the serious whiskey lovers community, even though most of us will tell you, not that I'm claiming to be a serious whiskey lover, but most of those people would tell you they're not a fan of the old number 7.
No, you're more of a whimsical whiskey lover. Miss Dorsey, when she was...
That's 100% true.
When she was...
100% true.
Miss Dorsey, when she was here, the funny thing is she brought a whole bunch of expressions. None of them were old number 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And here's the thing.
Every one of them was great.
We didn't have to have that awkward conversation at all.
Yeah.
The Bonded...
was wonderful.
It was a sleeper, man. The Bonded cost $30-something a bottle.
It was $30. It was just really $29.99.
You went and bought one.
I went and bought it.
100% buy Jack Daniel's Bonded. It is so good.
Yes.
It'll blow your mind.
Absolutely.
If you hate Jack Daniel's and you hate everything they stand for, this is still a fantastic whiskey.
Your mind,
Unbelievable.
Yes.
Also
absolutely.
on the list, by the way, Knob Creek 7-year-old Kentucky Straight Rye.
Yeah, it's hard to go wrong with Knob Creek.
Don't know if I've had the 7-year, but I've had Knob Creek Rye, and I got to tell you.
Yeah, it's hard to go wrong with Knob Creek, man.
It is very, very difficult to go wrong. Finally, Stranahan's 2023 Diamond Peak
Stranahan's out of Colorado, right?
Number 2, yes. Stranahan's is a Colorado distiller, and they were working, they say, in this corner of the whiskey industry long before the government officially designated American single malt whiskey as a class unto itself, which is kind of cool. And there is one more, the Whistle Pig Beholden, which is a 21
I have not tried the Beholden.
Mm-hmm, no, I haven't either. But Whistle Pig, of course, those guys have been getting busy.
Whistle Pig, man. Dave Pickerel. Remember, we had him on the show a month before he passed.
Right. It was,
and he was pushing Whistle Pig. It was so good. He's so passionate. He was so fun. I'll have to look back and see which episode that was and post it. But that guy was amazing. We had such a good time with him.
Fan of whiskey,
everything whiskey,
everything
like he was about it,
and he was such a charismatic dude too.
And he was in on it, and then they I'm blanking on the guy they brought in afterwards, but man, Whistle Pig is killing it right now.
Well, the guy they brought in, of course, is the one who's buddies with James Hetfield,
from
Metallica, and they did the Blackened Cigar,
which is fantastic.
It really is.
That's a Drew Estate cigar, and it's fantastic.
And by the way,
M80 is what they call it, the Blackened M80,
and that Blackened whiskey from Metallica. I'm sorry, it's good.
Also fantastic.
It's really, really good. And
even at the price point, which is, I think, it's not super expensive. It's 80-ish, right?
Right. It's around $80.
It's fantastic.
So what we're talking about, celebrity beverages, and we talked about last week while you were gone, by the way, AC/DC releasing a whiskey or putting their name on a whiskey.
I heard that was happening.
Yeah, so we'll have to get a hold of some of that. But this week we have Ryan Reynolds, who's actually a very funny guy. He does Mint Mobile. He has a number of companies. He's an entrepreneur.
He's really good investing. He's becoming the new Shaq.
Nicely done, sir.
I love the new Shaq. If he's the new Shaq, I want to be the new Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
That's just...
Charles was my favorite.
I
had Barclays. I never owned Jordans, but I had Barclays.
Yeah. But anyway, Ryan Reynolds, the new Shaq, has Aviation American Gin. It is batch distilled
For
with
those
an
of you who don't know what that means,
of
that's
spices from around the world.
That's a sports ball reference.
Oh, yeah. That's right. That's a sports ball reference.
Well, no,
So I just want to mention, though, I heard Ryan Reynolds talking about this in one of the commercials on the Strike Force 5 podcast that I mentioned. And he talked about the fact that it was not as juniper-y as some
Here's the thing.
others.
Like, I was sniffing this. I was nosing it a little bit. Nosing sounds better than sniffing, right? Sniffing sounds something like
I don't know
what a dog does. But
when we're talking about rearing and nosing, I just don't know if
we've gone completely off the rails.
I believe we have.
But I was nosing this, and I didn't like the nose very much.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be astringent. I thought it was going to be turpentine-y, which can happen in gin. Well, and then the actual flavor is very different.
I think it manages to be floral without smelling like the juniper bushes outside your Aunt Clara's house.
It's actually like, so on the nose, it's a little too much. But when you take the sip, and I imagine this goes really well when you're making martinis or adding a little bit of something in there.
You added a little lemon twist or maybe a little olive juice.
Maybe one of these cherries.
Maybe one of those cherries, which are awesome. Yeah.
But anyway, so by itself, it's actually pretty nice. I bet it makes a great mixer overall.
Let me ask you a question. Do you ever just sip gin straight?
Yeah, Gene Simmons.
There are a few gins that I've had. There was a company out in Smithville, Texas, that made this gin called Dirty June. Mm-hmm. And it was a barrel-rested gin, and it was amazing. They went out of business, unfortunately. So, yes, I used to do that. In general, no gin is going to... Well, it's hard to say. So you asked me if I ever just sip gin.
Yeah, do you ever just pour gin and sip it straight? Well, that's kind of what that is, right?
That's kind of a martini, right?
Right. Yeah, maybe
occasionally I'll make it dirty. I like a dirty martini. But, so yes, in that sense, yes, sometimes.
I've told this before on the show.
And I bet this is good.
But I had a friend when I lived in Philadelphia and used to go out for drinks from time to time with his wife. His name was John DeBella. John DeBella's wife used to order her martinis extra dirty, and she would stop the bartender or the waitress and say, I want it so dirty there's still lipstick on the glass. And that's kind of how I like my martinis, too. But I am betting this would make great martinis. It just feels right to me. Maybe we'll have to...
Have you ever tried a smoky martini?
Yes. Is that what this makes you think of?
Oh, my gosh. I just did that with a little bit of this. Mm-hmm. It's quite good.
I am thinking that I want to make martinis with this and my favorite gin, Fox and Seeker, and see which one I like better. But we'll have to do that on another program because right now we got to take a break. It's Smoking and Toasting, and we will be right back not too far away now from Drinking News. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is available as a podcast all over the world at all the major podcast networks. You can get us at YouTube, of course. And we're heard on the air on great radio stations like News Talk KBAR 1230 AM in Burley, Idaho.
Put us on in the background when you have a sexy date. It's going to be amazing.
What up, Burley? We're nice. It's kind of nice to have you. Hey, I wanted to tell you about some cigars to watch for while we sip a little more of this gin. And by the way, one of the things I didn't mention this, but they absolutely nailed the right typeface for like old school aviation. Mm-hmm. It is exactly right. Like you're expecting, to see planes taking off and hear them say they're going to fight the Luftwaffe and stuff like that. Which is like one of my favorite German words ever. La Aurora, the oldest cigar maker in the Dominican Republic, is celebrating their 120th anniversary. And to mark the occasion, they've created a regular production line called 120th anniversary, which is already shipped to stores, but the celebration is not over. By the end of this month, retailers can expect an additional size double tapered Perfecto, which sounds fun, called the La Aurora 120th Anniversary Limited Edition. It's a 6x58, and it consists of entirely Dominican tobacco, a Habano 92 wrapper, an Olor binder, and a combination of Piloto Cubano and Corojo filler. According to the company, it is full-bodied, and that makes sense.
That sounds delicious. Yeah, Aurora, yeah.
It's made in the DR at La Aurora, SA, and it is shipping in 10-count boxes with a suggested retail price of $40 per cigar. So it's not going to be cheap, but it's one of those special ones.
I think the most expensive Aurora I've ever heard of.
I think it may be, yeah. And they've had some that have been in the $20 range, but I don't think I remember any ever at
No, so they put out a series a few years back that were in the tubos, the torpedo-style tubos that were in the $20 to $22 range. Mm-hmm. The green one, the red one, and a few others. But I don't think I've ever heard of a $40 Aurora. That's crazy.
Ian and I were fortunate enough to be invited to the Aladino family plantation outside Danley, Honduras, a couple of years ago. And they were incredibly hospitable. They allowed us to tour their fields, their curing barns, hang out with the rollers and blenders, and smoke a lot of great cigars while we were there. Now Aladino is releasing a cigar using some of the tobacco that we saw growing in the field while we were there.
Fantastic.
Wow. The blend's roots go back 7 years. In 2016, Julio and Justo Arroyo began planting Sumatra seed tobacco. You remember
he talked about the Sumatra, yeah.
And that tobacco is now being used as the wrapper, covering a blend that the company describes as tobacco varieties of undisclosed origin from the JRE tobacco farm in Honduras. The Aladino Sumatra is debuting in a single 6x52 Toro size. It's going to sell for $16 per cigar, and it'll come in boxes of 20.
Here's the thing. It's Aladino. I'm going to try it.
Are y'all going to be able to find stuff that you actually saw being grown?
I intend to, because we were in the field and they were pointing these out to us that what this tobacco was, and that's what's being used in this cigar.
So here in Houston, there's two companies, the two places that always have the Aladino stuff. Mm-hmm. That's going to be Heights Cigar Lounge and Cigar Town. Mm-hmm. They always have the Aladino stuff. You should be able to find them.
And just in time to coincide with the ousting of one of the shortest-serving speakers of the House of Representatives of the U.S. government, J.C. Newman has a new release honoring a long-serving representative who spent 23 terms in the House and was Speaker from 1903 to 1911. His name was Joseph Gurney Cannon, an Illinois Republican who was a fan not only of cigars, but of really large cigars. So they've released in his honor the American Speaker Cannon. It's a 6 1/4 by 60 size, the thickest of the line today from J.C. Newman. It's expected to have an MSRP of $25 per cigar, and it'll enter production. Actually, it did just this last week, and be aged for a year, meaning it should be ready by election day.
Apparently, they put gold in the middle of it.
Yeah, apparently they did. Well, I'm thinking, at $25. It's still for an entire floating down the river excursion. That you might be able to amortize that.
There's that. We'll see.
All right. We'll take a break. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. This is show number 350.
That is the exact halfway point to 400. We're halfway to 400 right now.
And, a lot of people have asked me about this, us always saying we're halfway to 400. It's but it is halfway from something, right? That's not incorrect.
Listen, I've done the math. Don't argue with it.
All right, thank you. I will not.
That's what really happens.
I will neither do the math nor will I argue with your math.
Like, this job does not involve a lot of math.
I just want to...
And I've got this one.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to mention, by the way, the more I am sipping on this Aviation gin, the more I'm enjoying it.
The more I sip on this, the more attractive I find you.
Well, and maybe it's putting us all in that sort of a mood, because
it's not that kind of a show.
Yeah.
I am feeling gregarious, my friend.
Yeah, and for those of you who are not sure what that means, just go with it.
This is all a joke. So we're having a good time.
So, but let me just say, speaking of attractive persons.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm right here.
I just want to mention Ryan Reynolds, who this is his company, Aviation Gin, Aviation American Gin, I should say. Ryan, you have a standing invitation to come on the show, talk about your gin. We'll even let you pimp Mint Mobile if you want to. I just think about how fun it would be.
A standing invitation? Nay, I dare you.
You dare him to come on the show?
I dare you to come on the show.
Ryan, listen, I know most people would describe you as one of the most handsome guys in Hollywood. And they probably wouldn't be wrong. But please don't be afraid to sit between Ian and me.
That's right.
And have your handsomeness be challenged.
And make sure I get all of these angles right here so they can see you in the video right now, and make sure they see how handsome.
I'm just saying, Ryan, if you feel like you can hold your own, come on. Ian has challenged.
There's a space right here.
That's right. And can you imagine how dorky I would look sitting next to Ryan Reynolds? Unbelievable. Let's get into a place where I am perhaps more comfortable with myself, and that is a little place we call Drinking News.
Drinking News, Drinking News. Now it's time for Drinking News. Drinking News, Drinking News. Now it's time for Drinking News. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said, I
had to take my gator to the vet.
Drinking News, Drinking News. Now it's time for Drinking News.
Cheers, y'all. I just want to say, by the way, I really did miss you last week. As much as I enjoy, the alternate drinking news song,
yes,
as performed by our good
Chris
friend,
Morris
Chris
is amazing.
Morris. Yeah.
That's his own thing, man.
But I missed yours. Yours is just, that's just
mine's a little more fluid. I can kind of like be in and out, and sometimes I even.
This was a slower version you did today.
Yep. I felt like we needed a little more gravitas.
Well, yeah, and you're gonna love that you did that for today's drinking news story.
Well, I heard the teaser headline.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Well, listen, the word weaponized gets thrown around a lot these days.
Yes,
Politicians accuse each other of weaponizing things in government or certain kinds of speech. It's not a term you used to hear that often.
I'm going to weaponize this right here.
All right, go for it. It's not a term you used to hear that often, but it's become much more common in the last few years. Now, the Oxford Dictionary defines weaponize as simply to adapt for use as a weapon. We've had recent stories here on Drinking News about people who attempted to use rather odd things as weapons, including slapping someone with a slice of pizza and hurling a lollipop at a person's chest. Neither of those proved to be very effective, as you
There's a
can
whole
imagine.
fighting style called slap foo.
Exactly. But none of this stopped a Florida woman. Wait, hang on.
Wait.
Ukulele was
Florida woman.
the ukulele was on the tabletop, so we had to.
That took me a second. Yes,
He was pouring.
I was pouring drinks.
A little better.
Multitasking.
None of that stopped the Florida woman who weaponized something even more bizarre recently when she got into an altercation.
Please let go of my ball. I'm sorry. What?
A Florida woman weaponized something even more bizarre recently when she got into an altercation with the cashier at a gas station.
Okay.
22-year-old Diasia Cobb of Florida reportedly had a disagreement with the gas station clerk over a transaction. The argument apparently escalated until the cashier and the Florida woman both began yelling at each other, and then it escalated still further into a heated exchange of racial slurs.
No, racial slurs always help a situation. Always.
Because, of course it did. Because Florida.
Like when things are going wrong, what you should do is bring race into it.
That's right. That's right. Because it's always proven to calm the situation down.
The situation gets way better every time.
Well, this verbal argument continued and became louder and louder until finally Cobb took things to the next level by using a pair of tongs to retrieve a sausage from the convenience store's rotisserie grill and to hurl both the sausage and the tongs at the cashier. Now, depending on how long the
sausage projectile.
Depending on how long the sausage had been sitting there, spinning on the grill before Cobb picked it up.
That's going to affect the slap factor when it hits you.
It is possible this could actually be described as an assault with a deadly weapon. I'm just saying. Some of those sausages on those grills look like they've been there since Michael Jackson had a nose. You know, right? I'm not saying they're old.
We went back that far.
I'm not saying they're old. I'm just saying it's not impossible that some of them might have been served at Joe Biden's 5th birthday party. But that's not important right now. After the sausage struck the cashier, the Florida woman who threw it.
Sorry, I was just imagining him going, and doing one of those, like, when a soccer player, like, acts like he got hurt.
Oh, yeah, when they flop. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's awesome. Well, after the sausage struck the cashier, the Florida woman who threw it made for the door of the gas station, only to be followed outside by the obviously agitated clerk. The obviously agitated clerk followed her outside and then threw the disgusting sausage at her car, leaving a slimy trail of grease on the vehicle's paint job.
So she threw it at him, and then he threw it back
the clerk
at her
came
car.
back outside, threw it back, and threw it on her car.
No.
Not to be outdone, the Florida woman then retaliated by throwing a full can of Coca-Cola at the cashier, which fortunately missed its mark, much like any pass thrown by Mac Jones of the New England Patriots this season.
Which he unfortunately caught and then quenched his thirst with.
Yes, absolutely.
Probably not. But.
Police were dispatched to the convenience store where they interviewed witnesses and arrested Diasia Cobb for battery and disorderly contact. Now, we have not been able to confirm reports that the sausage itself was ultimately returned to its home on the rotating grill.
Was the sausage harmed?
And is currently available for purchase if you're feeling a little peckish. And while you might think that that's disgusting, and I would agree,
part of me believes it.
There are some actual real snacks that may be worse. I'm not talking about made-up food. I'm talking about things that are actually on the market, things you can actually buy. And as a public service...
Please don't tell me it's a Slim Jim.
As a public service, we prepared another Drinking News Top 5 list.
Oh, no, the top 5.
Of actual, real food that may be more disgusting than the Florida assault sausage.
Top 5 food that will kill
Florida
you.
assault sausage?
These are real foods. I just want to
listen,
underscore that.
I'm making this up as I go. I don't know if you know this about the music here.
I couldn't tell. No, I thought
I thought y'all practiced this tonight.
I mean, it sounds rehearsed.
I thought you read my drinking news in advance, and we're just rolling with the flow. No, these are the top 5 actual real foods that are available for purchase that may be more disgusting than the Florida assault sausage. Number 5.
Florida assault sausage.
Number 5. Archie McPhee shiitake mushroom flavored candy canes.
Dear God, help you.
They are available on Amazon, and I'm not kidding. And I didn't just put it on here so I could say shiitake.
I'm just going to go ahead and get this out of the way. Pickled pig's feet.
Yeah. Number 4, a bag of Tender Bison brand breaded Rocky Mountain oysters.
Breaded.
We both got that. Breaded.
Just $228.
Well, that's like road trip food, right?
Number 3, limited edition pumpkin spice Spam. Just $9.98 at Walmart.
Is that real?
All of these are real.
Is that really
I didn't make any of these up.
Wow.
I'm actually a little bit flabbergasted by that.
I am going to look for that at Walmart. I'm going to be on.
I don't know what's weirder, limited edition pumpkin spice Spam or the fact that there is a Spam which is $10. I don't know which of those things.
Oh, it's $10.
It's $9.98 at Walmart.
Wow.
Number 2, Swedish fish flavored Oreos.
I feel like that's real, but I feel like that shouldn't be.
They're sold on Amazon and described by one reviewer as tasting like, and I'm quoting here, sadness embodied, end quote. And the number 1 real food that may be more disgusting than the Florida assault sausage. Number 1, Spencer and Fleetwood's milk Belgian chocolate edible anus puckered candies. Described by one reviewer I've heard of dropping the mic, but you dropped the ukulele.
I can't even do this thing. I can't work like this.
These candies were described by one reviewer as
puckered anus?
Yeah. They're edible anus puckered candies.
Oh, it's not puckered anus. It's edible anus puckered candies.
Yeah, and I've actually seen them. That is exactly what they look like. Yeah.
All right. So
they were described by one reviewer.
We have to unpackage a few things here.
And you can find these on Amazon. Described by one reviewer as, and again I will quote word for word, a very funny gift, but the chocolate smelt and tasted not very nice, end quote.
All right, listen, Mr. Reviewer. There's a few things that should have clued you in or out on this. And one is
the phrase edible anus.
Edible anus would have probably steered me in a different direction. Unless you're German, and I get it. Okay,
we don't have to make this about nationality.
All right, sorry. I retract said statement.
Oh, wow, you can really search this stuff on Amazon.
Oh, my God. Yeah, so I told you, this is real. These are real things. I did research for this top 5 list.
This is so difficult to wrap my head around.
Yeah. If you want to be disturbed, as Terry is right now, search it on Amazon.
Just search that.
Spencer and
chocolates.
Yeah.
And wow.
Meanwhile,
puckered. I like that they're called puckered chocolates.
Puckered candies.
Puckered candies.
Reporting live from from a Florida gas station where one of the sausages on that rotisserie grill looks like it's beginning to make its own gravy. My name is Cruz.
Has tread marks.
And that is your drinking news.
Drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. And we're drinking, but we have only a couple of moments left in the segment, Ian, to drink and talk about this this stout. And I know you're going to want to talk about this because this has just got you written all over it, man. It's the brewing company called Cycle Brewing. It's their barrel-aged Hazelnut Imperial Stout. They're located in Florida, St. Petersburg. What do you think?
It's nice.
Okay, so that's not nearly as enthusiastic as I was expecting.
Yeah, especially when I sat there and watched the thing in B-roll and thought of Ian the whole time.
Mm-hmm. I'm not blown away by it. It
is very hazelnutty.
It's very hazelnutty.
Yeah.
It's not very balanced.
All right, say more.
It's hazelnutty up front. It's hazelnutty on the back. There's almost nothing else happening on it. There's coffee that leaves you like wanting another sip, which is pretty good. And it doesn't taste bad. Like, don't get me wrong. This is not a bad product. It's just
not non-delicious.
No, it's not non-delicious, but it's not wowing me.
Interesting. Now, we've tried a number of pretty impressive stouts.
The nose is a little awkward. I gotta be honest.
Last week, by the way, while you weren't here, we had a coffee stout that was just, I mean, as good a coffee stout as I've ever tasted. Like it was just absolutely impressive, and from Barrel Brewing, I think. But this is, I agree with you. This is good, and I certainly wouldn't turn down, a refill.
All the things about it make me want it and like it, but it's just not.
It's not wowing you the way a $35 bottle should.
It's $35 for a bottle. It's not wowing me at all like that.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I'm interested. Like, how old is this bottle? I wish there was a freshness date on it.
No, I was going to say
it does say drink fresh. How long have you had this?
I got it about a month and a half ago.
Well, it says drink fresh. A month and a half shouldn't be too long.
No.
So I don't know. It's a little overbalanced on the front end, to be sure.
I'm going to have to do a little more research, and I will let you know. We'll be back at Smoking and Toasting.
It's a great bass tone.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting, our program all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Show number 350, which puts us distinctly and directly in the path of being halfway to 400.
If you divide it directly down the middle, you end up at 350 is right at the halfway point.
Can you go advise my kids' algebra teacher so that they can pass?
No problem.
It's new math.
Yeah, it's really new math.
Yeah.
So, Ian, we talked a little bit about this Imperial Stout in the last segment. We talked about it in the break, and I think we should share some of this with the listeners. This is not a bad beer at all.
No, it's not bad.
Nothing about it I don't like. That said, when you're paying around $35 for a bottle, $35 for a bottle of something that you're expecting to be incredibly special, this maybe doesn't quite hit that higher bar.
It's way overbalanced on the front end. It's like all punch right up front, and then after the front end of the palate, it kind of doesn't deliver much, except for coffee a little on the back end.
You're right.
There's not coffee there, yeah.
It's not bad.
They're going all hazelnut.
The taste
and
is
then
good,
coffee.
and I'm going to tell you, like, this bottle will not be wasted. Because
you're good like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do what I can.
Yeah.
I hear you.
No barrel-aged stout left behind is what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's a pretty good slogan.
The nose is I got to tell you, the nose is a little weird on this, actually.
Not a fan of the nose,
this
are
is
you?
11.5 ABV, so it is and should be boozy.
It doesn't come across very boozy. It just comes across as a little sticky on the front end, actually.
Yeah.
Well, it is a little thick. It is a little motor oil-ish.
I taste the hazelnut that you keep talking about. It's hazelnut
totally
there,
get that.
and then coffee
100%.
on the back, and then that's just.
100%
And it's very basic with those are the flavors. That's it.
Right.
Yeah, it's a little
Basic is a good-
one-dimensional.
a good
Yeah,
description.
I mean, and there's
overall
nothing
thing.
wrong with that. I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's
And
just
so I will
hazelnut
tell
and
you,
coffee.
if you're into kind of a brutal punch of those flavors, this is actually pretty good in that realm. But for me, it is, however, viscous too. Like
Yeah,
it is.
It is.
Oh yeah.
It is.
It is a little bit bigger than most things.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that part of it, but at the same time, the burnt caramel that it leaves in my mouth is not the most pleasant of burnt caramels. It's a little bit overburnt.
Terry's comment reminded me of one of my favorite comedians. He said, I don't mean that in a bad way, which reminded me of Dom Herrera.
Oh,
the
I love Dom
comedian.
Herrera.
Yeah, and he has this whole bit about how he's Italian, and he talks about his Italian relatives and stuff. They'll say, you are a low-life, scum-sucking weasel bastard. I don't mean that in a bad way.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't mean that in a bad way.
That's his whole thing. It was kind of what it recalled for me. Yeah, I like this, but I don't love it.
Right.
Yeah.
Is the
Agreed.
best way I can
Yeah.
say it. Like, I'm
Agreed.
not going to turn it down if you want to pour some more in my cup, but it's not like there's so many of these that we've had on the show
That are
when we open them,
outrageous,
we're
yeah.
like, oh my God,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And this is not causing that kind of a reaction.
And you know what?
to be
Here's
sure.
the deal. Like, this is a quality product. You can kind of taste the quality going into it. But the thing is, like, sometimes you miss. And I think this is a little bit of a miss.
You know-
and there are probably people out there who would just 100% disagree with me and be like,
But I've always wondered, like, when you talk to brewmasters, and they go, yeah, we tried this recipe, wasn't quite right. Then we hit it, okay, this is the one, and that's the one that they brew and release. And this almost feels like it was one of those ones that wasn't quite there. Close. Not
yeah,
bad.
it just every time I take that final sip, it just lays
It's the
a little wrong.
finish,
on it.
actually,
Yeah, the
that
finish.
that finishes wrong.
Yeah, kind of finishes a little wrong.
It sounds like we're being very critical. It's still a very delicious beer, but
If you have this in your cellar, drink it. It's worth drinking. It's pretty good.
but it's not one I would send
but
you
it's
to
not.
seek
It's
out.
not a go buy a whole bunch of them.
Ian, my friend, it is like all kidding aside, really nice to have you back.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, I enjoyed having you here. Next week, by the way, Ian has set us up to go and do a show on location at the Big Owl Craft Brew House.
Big Owl is apparently a nano brewery. They're so small.
What is a nano brewery?
They
Exactly?
apparently produce 4 beers. They're a brewery, but
Did
they
you
have
tell them
literally like 4 beers.
Did
I was
you
like,
tell
to
them
try
we,
all 4?
Yeah, did you tell them we want to try all 4?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So that's what we'll be looking forward to. And hanging out next week. And I understand we can hang out in the back area and smoke cigars.
In the
so-
front area, actually, it's going to be
looking
right
forward
off
to that.
Airline Drive in Houston. So if you're
looking
driving
forward to
by,
that,
honk
so-
your horn and make
yeah.
us all crazy.
Yeah, I love it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being a part of this program. We are very appreciative of you coming along and enjoying all of this with us. Thanks to all of our affiliates out there in Radio Land. We appreciate you hanging in there with us as well. Ian, welcome back. Great to have you. And thanks again to Jim Heim, who was our guest host last week.
Good to see you, baby.
Until we meet you next week from where's the place again?
Oh, it's going to be Big Owl Brewery over
Big
off
Owl.
of Airline
Big Owl.
Drive,
Big Owl.
just
I love
north
Big
of
Owl.
I-10 in
Have
the
a
Heights.
great week and cheers, everybody.
Listen to what anybody else says. Such a stubborn one, I think I'm